are then some why and how questions that investors should ask themselves as prompts, so they can make, better thinking decisions.
I think the obvious why for people is a reflective one. It's why did I get that wrong? Why did that investment go wrong? And that's a very important question to ask. To seek the understanding of why we got something wrong, because generally speaking, people commit personal capital, in a couple of ways. They either act on the advice of someone they trust, or a stock tip, someone who's made a lot of money says, "Oh, you know what? You should buy Apple shares." And those decisions generally are taken without the kind of requisite amount of thought, because in our own minds we've kind of outsourced the due diligence of those things. If it comes from a stock tip comes from someone we trust, then we tend to assume that they've done all the work for us and we don't have to do any work. And so, if someone says, "Hey, I think you should buy Apple shares," a lot of people take them at face value, buy the Apple shares, and then without really realizing it, they find themselves sitting there thinking, "Well, what do I do now? What do I do now? I own these Apple shares," and we just sit and watch the price, waiting for the outcome we feel is almost assured. Oh, smart guy told me to buy these. I bought them. It's only a matter of time now before the price goes up, and I'll cash in. But as soon as you take that leap and you say, "Okay, I'm going to trust smart guy A, and I'm going to buy Apple shares," something material has happened. Whether you like it or not, you've got capital at risk, and you own that risk now. That risk is yours. It's not smart guy A on the TV. It's not his risk anymore. It's yours. Because you have no idea how he may have structured his trade. You may have no idea how he's thinking from day to day, from hour to hour, from minute to minute, as news flow hits the tape, as the stock moves, as whatever happens. And I think people get into these things very casually, and they don't own the responsibility for that as well as they perhaps should do. But I think when these things go wrong and we say, "Well, why did that go wrong?" It's a very natural human trait to kind of want to find someone or something to blame. Smart guy A told me to buy Apple and its stock didn't go up. How could I possibly have known they'd shut down the factories because of COVID, and shipments would fall, and so the price would go down? I couldn't have known that. And a lot of that's true. But the real truth behind it is, look, as soon as smart guy A told me and I took it on his recommendation, as I said, I own that risk. So it's not smart guy A's fault for telling me to buy Apple shares. It becomes my fault for not selling them at the right time. It becomes my fault for not watching the news flow closely enough. It becomes my fault for not realizing every single day that I now have exposure to Apple. The risk is mine, not his. And I need to understand what's going on in every investment that I have, not relying on smart guy A to tell me when to get out. So that's one part of the questions that we ask ourselves in terms of why did I get that wrong? But another really important question that very few people ask themselves is, why did I get that right? And I think this is so important to understand, because you can spend hours poring over ideas and end up saying, "Okay, I'm going to pull the trigger and buy whatever. I'm going to buy some shares in Google." And the price could go up, and we all think we're geniuses because we got it right. But did we? Right? Did it go up for the reasons we expected it to go up for, or did something else happen? And it doesn't change the outcome, but you can use the answers to those questions to refine your investment process, to getting things right for the wrong reasons. There are so many lessons in that. I expected this to happen and the stock to go up. This didn't happen, but the stock went up. So if all you care about is the number going up, the fact that what I thought was going to happen didn't happen, is that a catalyst for a future rise? Is the stock going to go up more because I expected this to happen and it hasn't? Has the fact that the stock gone up meant that the reasons I thought it was going to go up are no longer valid, in which case should I get out? There are so many questions in why did I get that right that people spend far too little time thinking about, and they're equally as important. Because every day we start again, every hour we start again. There is news flow that can happen every minute of every day that can affect the decisions we've taken and the reasons we've put forth for doing the things we do. And so when people fixate on the number, when people fixate on the price and whether it's gone up or down, you're leaving so many opportunities to learn lessons behind you by not asking why did I get that right as well as why did I get that wrong. So I think they're really important questions. And again, the how question that you asked about, the how is really a historical question, right? If you're asking how, you're asking, okay, how do I manage this? And realistically speaking, if you want to understand how to manage this, you're going to look at past experiences, either yours or other people's, to learn how they've managed a similar situation. Or you're looking to understand your temperament, or you're looking to understand very specific changes in a company's news flow that have already happened. The how questions don't speak to the future unless you're asking, how might this stock perform in here? And really, none of us know that. Again, it's a toss-up question. How might it perform? Could go up, could go down. We don't know. So I really like to focus on those two things. And the hows tend to be either reflective. How did I handle this the last time I got something right or wrong? Did I sell too early? Did I sell too late? Did I not hedge the risk when I should have? How did such and such a person handle being wrong? How did such and such a person handle being right? What did they do? Did they double down? Did they cut? Did they, there are so many lessons that we can learn from other people, but we can learn just as many from ourselves. The more we do this, the more we make mistakes, and the more we should be learning to not make those same mistakes twice. Because in this game, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. But the critical thing here, and the unforgivable error that people make, is to not learn from our own mistakes. It's fine to not learn from other people's, because you haven't lived them, and so you haven't felt the pain those people find. You can read about something somebody got wrong and all the money it cost them, and you can go, wow, that would be painful, and I must remember that. But then in the fog of war and the fog of positions going against you and the fog of market dislocations, we forget other people's lessons, but we tend to remember our own because they were so painful. So, I've said to my kids their entire lives, there are things I can teach you, but there are things that you have to learn. And it doesn't matter. I can try and teach you those things, but I don't expect you to listen to me. I don't expect you to learn from me, because none of us do. I didn't learn from my parents the things I should have learned until I screwed up. It's the whole don't touch the stove thing. And that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. It's not okay to make the same mistakes twice, because then you're wasting hard-earned knowledge, real world knowledge of what can go right and go wrong and how to deal with them.